there.
Wow, is that like a twist and a pita pocket and all kinds of goofy stuff in there?
Well, and this is what I was telling you guys this before, is that this thing is so thick that when you go in the sun, it actually sticks to your body like a scuba suit.
Nice.
And it melts to your chest, so you gotta have to wear a shirt underneath it.
All right. Very nice. All right, there's our quick plug for our friend Sean Higgins. Let's get started because we have a guest on the line, Mr. Locy.
He's got better things to do than to look at T-shirts on my wall.
I'm sure he does. So, first of all, everybody, it's Sunday night that we're recording this. We just got the sad news that John Prine is in critical condition. Kolon, I completely forgot that I saw him live at Bonnaroo 2005. I didn't know who he was. Wow. My buddy Mike Collins dragged me over to that stage before the Allman Brothers set. So I've seen the guy live and just really sad to hear that he's sick.
I've spent hundreds of hours alone with that guy in a car. I mean, that Great Days CD is probably got me through my 20s.
Wow.
And got me through some heavy stuff. So I don't even know where I have it, but I digitized the CD. But you know, I think he's a musician. I think people will go, if this, you know, that's going to be a pretty heavy hit.
Yeah,
pretty heavy hit. I think you're going to see a lot of tributes if it doesn't go well. I know he has a lot of cardiovascular issues. So
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's sad.
We'll keep him in our prayers. Just wanted to share this too. Anyone that's not a member of US Lacrosse, you can go to uslacrosse.org. You can see it on my screen. Right up here on the top right is the join button. And right there you can go and sign up for a membership. And then also go find us on our YouTube account. We now have a subscription package, and we're now on the Apple Podcasts, and we're now on Stitcher and a couple other ones. So what I've got on my screen right now is Patrick Witt. I'm telling you this because you're not on video, but I have a map of Michigan and a pinpoint to Ovid-Elsie High School, just, it looks like, northeast of Lansing. I don't mean this in a negative or patronizing way, but this is going to be a lot of fun for us because myself, Chris, John, none of us have ever met you until you sent in and said, I'd like to be a guest. I don't think I even knew that Ovid-Elsie was a city, let alone had a high school, let alone had a lacrosse team with St. John's. So, Patrick, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So,
appreciate you having me.
Quick question.
Can I go first question?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I go first question?
Yes.
It looks like you're pretty close to the Maple Grill in Hemlock, Michigan. Have you ever eaten there?
I have not. That's about 45 minutes north of us.
45 minutes north. Okay. I'm a little
but I've
bit
heard
off.
of it. I heard it's supposed to be pretty good.
All right.
Good stuff.
So
never mind.
We jump into this, and we always start with what I call the name, rank, and serial number part of it. So give us your name, give us your day job, give us your current role in lacrosse, and then we're going to start beating you up with questions after that.
All right, sounds good. My name's Pat Witt. I currently work for Dow Chemical up in Midland, so I pass by the Maple Grill every once in a while on my way to work, to and from. I founded Lacrosse in Ovid-Elsie, the club here. We've been around for about 7 years total. We combined with St. John's for high school 2 years ago, so this would have been our second season if we would have been able to have one.
Okay, so 7 years in the program. How big is Ovid-Elsie as a high school? How many students?
It's pretty small. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but to give you an idea, if you guys know Hemlock, we were in their conference, so we're about their size.
Okay.
For a while. So I'm going to guess 700 students.
Okay. So it's a smaller school. And then how about St. John's? How many kids on your team are Ovid-Elsie kids, and how many are St. John's kids? What's kind of the breakdown?
We probably have about 13 Ovid-Elsie kids and 10 St. John's kids.
Okay, and so you guys go by the Ovid-Elsie Marauders. how did you get into lacrosse? Did you play? Did you coach prior to founding this? Or did your kid come up to you and say, Dad, I want to play, and you got stuck with the job?
Well, I started coaching my oldest daughter. I was the middle school coach at Waverly for her for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then we moved. So then she's, when she was a sophomore, we moved to Ovid-Elsie. So the city's Ovid, but the school's Ovid-Elsie. They're combined with Elsie. And then my youngest daughter wanted to play. I have twin boys and girls that are 19 now, and then my oldest is 23. So anyway, I started the girls program first. I was able to get a first stick grant from U.S. Lacrosse.
Okay.
Which enabled us to get the girls going. And then my son and his friends came up and about a year later and were kind of pestering me, why didn't you do where's the boys team, you know?
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to get another first stick program from U.S. Lacrosse and started that up too.
So you've double dipped. You've been able to get the first stick program twice now. We might tap into your brain to help get on a committee, because we're trying to populate our lacrosse committees for U.S. Lacrosse Michigan with people that have benefited from, that are members, that are influential in the community, all that kind of good stuff. We don't actually do the grants. We don't get the money from U.S. Lacrosse and then push it back out to the community. The grants go to U.S. Lacrosse. But Bryce Woodson, who's our Midwest representative, would contact us if an application came in, and I might be tapping into you to volunteer for some stuff down the road. So you've gotten yourself into a mess already.
Okay. Can I backtrack?
Nope, too late.
Nope.
You mentioned
yeah, no problem. I'd love to.
Everything said in here is on the record. It's official, and it's in the transcript. So sorry, buddy.
Okay. Good to know.
Pat, did you say you had twin boys and twin girls?
No. I have a 23-year-old daughter and then a boy and girl twins.
Oh, okay. Colin also has twin boys, so I know how he's got his hands full. I'd say if you have two sets of twins, you got to really have your hands full.
No, just one. I mean,
okay.
the one set is one boy, one girl.
Okay. So I want to get back to founding the program and the first stick grants and all that kind of stuff. Are there any really good memories or experiences or advice you would give to somebody starting a new program, and always do this or never do this kind of list? I mentioned because we've been talking to guys that have won state championships and girls that are in the Hall of Fame and college coaches. We want to make sure as we continue to grow the game, we talk to guys that have recently been in the trenches getting a program set up. So give us kind of the story about how this all got going, how much help you had, and how much support you wish you had, or I'll shut up. Just keep, tell us kind of your experience with it.
Well, I have a lot of interest from kids to play. And it's a pretty small area in the Ovid-Elsie area, and so most of the parents had never seen lacrosse or had never even heard of it. So there wasn't a lot of parent support in there, and it was a huge struggle trying to get buy-in from the school. But I finally the biggest trick was getting over the hump of actually being able to get face to face with the school board to get them to listen to us, and after that first face to face meeting with the school board, they granted us, we're not school funded, but we're school sanctioned, I think is the right word.
Yeah.
So the kids are eligible for school based awards and letters and stuff.
Gotcha.
But I think the biggest hurdle is trying to overcome the traditional sport bias, and a lot of I think it's pretty common among ADs to kind of be lean towards the traditional sports, and a lot of those coaches are really afraid that we're stealing their players, if that makes sense. And so that's one of the biggest hurdles to overcome, is to help alleviate those fears, because most of my players, both boys and girls, neither one of them would be playing any spring sports, is what they told me. And I think, DeWitt had that same kind of characteristic. None of them wanted to play any spring sports until lacrosse came along.
Interesting. Yeah, we had a chat with
Patrick.
Go ahead, Colin.
I have just a question. So I find it interesting. As a guy who's been around people who have started programs, it seems like everybody goes into a coach or a teacher or a principal or an athletic director. You just went straight to the school board?
No, I mean, I didn't have to talk to the school board until my kids started getting into high school, because we started at the middle school level first.
Okay.
So I was able to get some traction, after the parents had seen it and seen how much their kids loved the game. Then I was able to get some parental support, and then school board support as well.
Got it.
Okay. And then within, kind of getting the program up and running, once you actually had the blessing from the school board that, yep, you can use our colors, you can use our logos, you can, but go out and get your own darn money and make everything else happen yourself. What was kind of your checklist of things that in hindsight you really were like happy that got done right away, or any things that you would tell people, this is going to be a huge problem, make sure that you don't lose sight of this?
The thing I wish I would have, my biggest regret is not having a stronger feeder program before I got into high school, because right now I wasn't able to get enough support or not enough parents to step up and be able to coach middle school. So that kind of fell to the wayside. So unfortunately, we don't have a feeder program right now, and that's where we're at a huge disadvantage to some of these other more established schools, like that are in our conference, that have been around for 20 years or more. So that's one thing I would definitely try to build it from the ground up, instead of trying to start from middle school and then jumping straight into high school without a feeder program.
So if the program's been there for 7 years, do you kind of have that first generation of grads that have now gone through the program, gone through college, work, military, whatever, and that are now back in the area that you could lean on to coach some of that stuff?
Not yet, because we started with at 7th grade. So some of those seniors just graduated last year, and then I got a bunch of girls that are graduating this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So far I've had a few guys express interest that they want to come help, but they're still in college. So, but I think I'll have a lot more help once college finishes out. So that's probably going to be, I think that'll be not this year, but next year.
Okay. Yeah, with you being down the road from Michigan State, I'm wondering if Coach Holtz might have any players that he could, recommend to help out with your guys that have used up eligibility and are still finishing up a grad school or something else. So let me know if you want me to try to make the introduction if you don't know Holtz.
That'd be outstanding. I love that, because I met one guy through sideline swap.
Okay.
And about a state helmet from him, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind asking around some of his buddies, and because I'm looking for a defensive coordinator. And I hadn't got any interest that way, but maybe the MSU coach might be able to might have a wider ring of people that might be interested.
Yeah, and there's so many guys that have come through that program over the years that ended up staying in mid-Michigan. So let me make some phone calls for you. So the lack of a feeder program isn't for lack of wanting one; it's just for a lack of resources and people. Do the girls' side, do they have a feeder program? Do they have a middle school program?
They did up until last year was our first year without a feeder program, and it's just because we didn't have the coaches available, and then I think the way to recruit players has changed too. And previously I would just do Facebook and then ask the schools to tell me, because the middle schools were usually pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to figure out a more modern way, I guess, of getting the word out there. Because Facebook isn't as effective as it used to be.
Not for the young kids, that's for sure. They're not paying attention.
Right.
That's for the parents and the grandparents. They're following that too. So, hey, so Pat, how many seasons have there been at the varsity level for you guys?
There have been 3 seasons now.
Okay, so this would have been your 4th. You're going into your 4th year as a sanctioned program.
Yeah, for the boys, this would be our 2nd year for the girls.
Okay. And how many? If you look back at the boys program and the girls, really, are you guys fielding JV teams as well, or is it just pretty much all varsity?
Right now, it's all varsity just because of lack of coaching resources. With the girls, I'm very certain that we could field both a JV and a varsity team. Especially last year, we had 30 girls on the team.
Wow.
That's a lot for a coach to try and get everybody some decent playing time, or even just to give enough individual attention. That's tough. But this year we would have only had 24, I think, which is still a pretty big team, but a little bit more manageable.
So really, if you had to sit here and say, you probably got the kids. You could get the numbers, and really a lot of it is just what you mentioned in terms of getting community involvement and getting some people to jump up and step up and coach lacrosse. And I know that just from I didn't play the game, but I got involved when my kids got involved, and so I just my addictive personality jumped in, learned everything, and just started coaching at the youth level, and that's. I think sometimes that's the apprehension of guys out there in their 30s and with the younger kids, they don't know the game, and I think I think we just got to generate some interest and get some guys to step up, because once they do it, they're hooked. I think Chris, both you guys say this thing. Once you get in and you feel that buzz and you feel that it's in your veins, you're gonna go. So I think that's great. You have the numbers, and hopefully this will help you. Hopefully generate some buzz around things, and we'll get some people to step up.
Yeah, but I think we will, because we actually we're kind of this year I got one kid that played for the DeWitt youth team, because they're right next door.
Yep.
I've talked to some parents that wanted to know if we had a youth league for St. John's and Ovid-Elsie. But whose kids are playing in DeWitt right now. So I guess we do have kind of a feeder team, but we're stealing from DeWitt right now.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping that those guys, like I've approached a couple of them to coach and also to be on our board, because I'd really like to have a youth player's parent on our board of directors. Yeah. So we have that longevity. But the other off school we have in our area, St. John's not so much, but in Ovid-Elsie, it's a real rural area, so there's not a lot of money. So with the cost of equipment, that's something that it's going to be a difficult pill to swallow if we can't continue to provide equipment for the kids.
For the kids.
So you're providing gloves and arm pads and shoulder pads and everything?
Yeah, the first stick program from U.S. Lacrosse is great. I don't know if it's still the same, but at the time that we got it, they gave us 20 sets of equipment for the boys and the girls for the first year, and then the second year they gave us 10 additional.
Great.
So that set us up really, really well, because without that, I don't think that I would have been able to do it.
Yeah, I have not been a part of any of this first stick program stuff, because it wasn't in existence when I started playing at St. Hugo in Bloomfield in 1988 or whatever it was. We just had Kevin Morrow and showing up with a trunk full of gear in his Lincoln, and then we had Metro Sports Shop over in Clawson. Cole, did you ever shop at Metro Sports in Clawson? Oh, he's frozen. It was a little hockey shop that also had a couple of lacrosse sticks and pads in the back wall. What about Owasso? I know Owasso's not too far away from there, and they've got a pretty large high school, if I remember right. I know they don't offer lacrosse, but is that something that you've reached out to their kids too to see if they want to get involved?
Yeah, we have in the past. We when we first started up, I was concerned about numbers, so I approached Owasso and Langsburg as well to see if they wanted to, as well as St. John's 4 years ago, to see if they would be interested to combine with us. But at the time, nobody wanted any part of it, so it was kind of a head scratcher for me because there was no fund out. They didn't have to provide any funds. They just had to provide it. I was just asking them to provide letters for their letterman's jacket, but
let the kids play.
Yeah, nobody was interested.
Huh?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what kind of relationship do you have with the other? What's the established sports up there? Is football a big deal? Soccer, the boys, girls. What's the big deal up there?
Football's huge at Ovid-Elsie. Football's king. I think it's king at St. John's too.
Do you have any partnerships with those programs? Because when I was playing in high school a long time ago, the partnership between the football program and the lacrosse program really kind of took my high school and made lacrosse kind of a big deal. And to this day, whenever they still need coaches, I think like the JV coach at Birmingham, I think is the varsity football coach. And he might not know lacrosse that well, but he sure knows how to coach. And he's a great development guy, and he's great at developing kids. And I think some of the younger coaches that are, they have no lacrosse background, but they're football guys. And there's such a great correlation, spring sport, fall sport. The track coaches get mad, but has there been a partnership with those guys? Yeah, baseball too.
Yeah.
Or those. Yeah. Or the football guys, you run track and do baseball in the spring and football in the fall.
Yeah. With Ovid-Elsie right now, we've got a pretty good partnership with the wrestling team. Just because I think I got lucky because one of the kids that played for me last year, his dad is the head coach for wrestling at Ovid-Elsie, and that seems to be a good partnership too. I mean, because a lot of the it just seems wrestling goes with just about every sport because you got to be able to use your body in so many different ways to be successful.
I was gonna say face-offs you must be good at.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And matter of fact, this kid started as a freshman last year, and he was our best face-off guy. He beat everybody on our team.
That's great.
A little bit different story when you go up against some kid that's in a D1 prospect, but he's a phenomenal athlete. Really good kid.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So what else has U.S. Lacrosse been able to support you with? Have you personally done any coaches education programs or gotten any of your certifications?
I'm certified. I'm level 1 certified and halfway through level 2. I've been to the last 2 conventions, and those have been phenomenal. A lot of good educational opportunities there. I've definitely improved as a coach as a result of it. One guy that I've been working with quite a bit is also very involved in U.S. Lacrosse. I'm betting you guys heard of him, John Strickler. He's the head coach for Holt right now. Mm-hmm. He spoke at the convention last year in Philly. Actually, I've been to the last 3 because the first one I went to was in Baltimore. So
okay.
He helped me out a lot, and then a guy, because he was very involved in starting up the Hazlitt program, along with Mike McCune, and they gave me a lot of advice to help me kind of grow to where we are right now.
Yeah, and Hazlitt, I got to know Coach Murphy real well before he stepped down last year, and they had a great run in the playoffs, and it was great to build a little bit of a relationship with him, and they would come down to play Brother Rice, and they'd play the Brother Rice the second varsity team, and you know, you got them. You got Rich Kimball up in your Nape of the Woods as well. So, you know, I mean, you know, I think
he coached MSU varsity, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Rich. Yep. He's actually on our schedule. He's going to come in a couple of weeks, isn't he, Chris Drouin?
Next Thursday, we're going to sit down with Coach Kimball.
Yeah. So you got great guys up there. I think it just really comes down to that grassroots level. And I mean, you know, again, there would, the way that I hear it and the way I understand it is that there wouldn't be a lacrosse program there if it wasn't for you, and that's a tribute to you where you've gotten everything to. And I think it's great that, you know, that you reached out to get to this social media, you know, with us, even though, you know, we're kind of nobodies, but we're trying to be somebody.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, we think, I mean, I see things come across all the time in terms of, and Chris Kolon as well, and Drew, I mean, all of us see things coming across in terms of donating old gear and doing things like that, of putting together, you know, things like that. It's good to know that you're up there doing what you're doing, and that, you know what, it can grow into something and be an important part of some students' lives, you know, for the rest of their lives potentially. You just need some support, right? I mean, that's really what it's coming down to.
Yeah, that's all it's coming down to. It's starting to get that what do we call it? I'm drawing a blank for the word I'm looking for, but critical mass. That's the word.
Yeah.
You know, last year I was able to get a full board of directors for the first time, and those guys stuck with me for the second season, and I think they're going to stick around for another year at least. So, you know, that's really key too, and they're really. It's always nice to have more than just one guy's ideas, because you always do better with a bunch of people working together to brainstorm.
Right.
And then there's more people like that are already involved in lacrosse in the Witt Feeder program. As they come up, I think they're going to help out a lot too. So, and then once we finally get our first win in our conference, I think that'll generate a lot of interest too.
Great.
Well, I see you got a win in the second game last year against Bay City Central. So that must have been exciting for the kids right out of the gate to be 1-1.
Yeah, that was Bay City Central was one of our first teams that we played when we first became when we were JV first, and so we've tried to maintain that partnership. Mike O'Shea runs Bay City Central, and he's a good guy. They got a really good tournament up there for lower tier teams. Runs it really well.
Nice. Hey, I just wanted to chime in. You're not on video with us, but I was sharing my screen for John and Chris to see because I had it up. If anyone is a U.S. Lacrosse member and they go to the homepage under the coaches section under education, there's an actual certification and a way to become a certified coach. And like you know, Pat said, there's level 1, there's level 2, and there's level 3 certification. We have several CEP, Coaches Education Program trainers here in Michigan. I think Dwayne Hicks is one of the trainers or the trainer of the trainers. I know Luke Grimsman's a trainer. I think that there's a handful throughout the state that we can definitely start putting more of these on. The challenge that we always run into when putting one of these on is finding a host school or building or somewhere. We need a gym. We need half a gym to make this happen. And sometimes it just trying to find somebody that says, yep, I can get you gym time in the middle of winter is a challenge. Pat, if you are interested in getting more people involved, we could definitely see if we could do some sort of a mid-Michigan capital city area coaches education program in the future. And, you know, that's one of those things where it's great where you can just tell your board, hey, I'm going to send these 5 dads to this coaches education program because their kids are playing in 7th and 8th grade and they want to be a part of it. And there you go. If the board is willing to foot the bill for them. And a lot of the stuff is cheap. I think it's like $25-$30 a coach. Don't quote me on that. I'll find out the actual stats. But again, if anyone in your community that watches this goes, well, sure, I didn't know we needed that much help. I'll get involved. Go to uslacrosse.org, become a member, and then definitely sign up for the coach education programs. The stuff's available online. And it's not just the basics of throwing and catching and fundamentals. It's positive coaching, it's child protection, it's concussions, it's you know, all that stuff that they've done a very thorough job of putting it together. As this is the fastest growing sport, we need people, we need parents, we need, you know, people that are going to step up that have never played it before, and as you said in your community, never even seen it before, to get involved. So there are resources available. Don't hesitate to reach out to anyone at US Lacrosse in Baltimore either. Their entire directory of people and phone numbers and emails is online if you need to reach out to somebody, or you can always start with Bryce Woodson, who's our local Midwest rep.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. And as a former participant, I highly recommend it. The classes were outstanding. I mean, can't recommend them enough.
great. Well, thank you for the plug. It's definitely good to know that, you know, it's not just all the East and all the West.
Right.
I had one quick thing, Chris Drouin, as we're talking about this and trying to generate interest in certain areas in the state. This is more of a general question for topic. I mean, is it possible within the U.S. Lacrosse Michigan chapter database to run a report based on zip code or area of people that are, you know, signed up for member? Because what I'm thinking is that, you know, if we can quantify in his area how many people have actually signed up for whatever reason that they're a member of U.S. Lacrosse Michigan, you could do a targeted mailing or something like that to say, hey, listen, we see you're a member of U.S. Lacrosse. You know, we got a program here locally. Would you be interested? Something like that.
You know, there is data available to us, but the good thing with this nonprofit and all nonprofits is they are very particular about their member list getting out. I can't just email my contacts in Baltimore and say, dump the entire Michigan list into a spreadsheet and send me everyone's name, phone number, email, date of birth, and everything else. They don't want me to then run for political office or promote my business.
Well, that's not going to happen.
So what they don't want is on my way out the door as president, me going and go, okay,
of course,
I'm just going to send DrouinSolutions.com. Everyone go buy a website from me. Everyone come, you know, do my day job for me. They're very protective of that. Now that being said,
makes sense.
If we need to get an email out to somebody, we just send it to Baltimore and say, please send this out. And it's basically no questions asked. I'm actually trying to write something for next week. We are, here, I'll share my screen again. Bear with us, Pat. You just happened to pick the episode when we actually have, you know, more stuff to talk about. Now that we have
no problem.
our channels for some of this stuff, we are on, like I said, the Apple iTunes store. We're getting on Google. But as we now have all these links for Stitcher and for iHeartRadio and all these other places, these directories that we're going to have so we're approved on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio should be today. Google Podcast should be in the next week. Pandora and TuneIn have already been approved, and all these Castbox and Podcatcher and everyone else down here. We're going to get an email out to everybody on our roster. It says, hey, you know, we know that you're stuck at home. Sorry, the season's been canceled. Here's some things to keep you entertained. Maybe we're entertaining. I'd like to think we are. But also, there's a lot of free classes and clinics that US Lacrosse is offering right now. So what I was going to do is get with Luke and try to find out what certifications or I know that they have a lot of content where they've recorded certifications and coaching and training programs from conventions and that kind of stuff. And according to Luke, there's a bunch of it that's free right now. So we wanted to kind of send out some of those free resources. So great question, Locy. There's definitely, when we have a new program or something like this, we can share it and say, we have a new program being started in this area. If you know anybody or want to help get involved, you know, please let us know. But it's one thing we haven't done a very good job of soliciting that in the past or letting people know that it's even available. It's kind of a whole new frontier in what we're going to be trying to do to promote the game and promote more programs as we go forward. And if we get more people on these committees, and you know, the great part is we've already kind of cornered the first 5 guests. Jen Dunbar's locked in. Mackenzie's locked in. You know, Tony Quinn's coming out of retirement and helping out. If we can start building some more people into these committees to really make sure they're focusing on grants, first stick programs, recruiting areas where maybe, you know, Owasso is the next one we need to go to and say, hey guys, this is the first stick program. You have 900 kids in your school. This is the boys program. This is the girls program. How can we help? that we can continue to help grow the game. And even if we get with the MHSAA and Ration and try to figure out if he knows of any areas that might be looking. So I got a feeling a lot of them start with the MHSAA in questions if this stuff comes up. So, Pat, I want to get back to you and your program. It sucks right now. Sorry for being so blunt and so crude, but, you know, John and Chris and I are kind of doing this for our scratching our lacrosse itch, and you know, we can't get together for cocktails and hang out like we normally would after games in the season. So we're doing this. We're hanging out through our computers. How's the team doing? How are the boys doing? Do you have any seniors that are worried that their season's going to go away? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm especially I'm super sad for the seniors because I had some coaches looking at them, trying to recruit them, and I don't know if that's going to affect their interest level since they can't. I mean, I know it's the entire country that probably doesn't have lacrosse anymore, but yeah, there's a couple kids that are seniors now. They're just tremendous athletes, and I'd really like to see them move on and play somewhere else. We haven't had anybody move on to play lacrosse at the college level yet, and I'd love to see that. And of course, if they don't play in college, and this would have been their last time to play lacrosse, unless they play in like a adult pickup game or something. So yeah, it's very disappointing, and I know a lot of guys were pretty upset about it. But you know, I've been trying to keep their interest up just in case we have a shortened season. Been sending them videos and stuff like that. But I think it's pretty discouraging right now. It's kind of hard to keep their excitement up and their interest level. You know. Yeah.
It's it's interesting. When you get down to that that level where it's a newer program and kids aren't. As we are, here in southeastern Michigan, it's just, it's a focal point of really our culture down here with these kids that have been playing since they were in second and third grade, and it just turns over year after year after year with a lot of these schools, and then it really kind of gives you a pause where I take a step back listening to you tonight and say that really kind of hits home a little bit where you start thinking about kids like that. When we talk about it down here in Southeast Michigan, like, well, this could be their last year, and you never know. But I mean, this really could be the last year that these kids that you're talking about, your seniors, that get to pick up a stick no matter what, either way. Because I assume that that was going to be one of my questions, kind of a lead in. But do you have any of your kids playing in a club teams in the summer? Anything along those lines, or do you feed them anywhere in that area?
Yeah, I've been looking at it. Our problem is that we're in kind of a economically depressed area. So, and a lot of those summer travel teams are pretty expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's one of the things what makes me so passionate about the First Stick program. And I don't know, I hope I don't plug something that U.S. Lacrosse doesn't have anymore, but right now what I see is lacrosse is pretty much bunched up in the more fortunate areas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's a function of the cost of the equipment.
True.
So that's one thing with the First Stick program comes in. It lets people that are in less fortunate areas have the chance to play and learn to love this game because it's, I'm biased, but I think it's the best game in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of partial ourselves. Hey,
I'm going to go back real quick to you.
Go ahead, Chris Kolon.
Yep, sorry. For your seniors that are looking at college, I'll just give you a little
can't quite
insight.
hear you.
Everybody's
Chris, lean in a little bit, Kolon. Lean in a little bit.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good, yeah? No?
There you go.
Much better.
Perfect.
Good. Sorry. I just tell those kids a lot of colleges are in a holding pattern right now. We're waiting for the NCAA to vote and then kind of get an interpretation, and then the MHSAA and everybody else will kind of follow suit in the situation. So the best thing they can do, and they're not going to get an answer from anybody, is just stay in contact with – if someone got in contact with them, reach back out and get back in contact. Whether or not that person gets back to you or not. Take 2 or 3 swings at it, because right now a lot of college coaches have their hands up in the air and they're not sure what to do with some of the rules that, the statement that came out about seniors being back and blah, 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 blah. But if they did have some interest, I think it would be really smart if someone showed interest in them to give that interest back at this point. So if you want to have one piece of advice to give to them, I think that would be a very, very smart thing to do right now.
Okay. All right. I'll pass it along. Yeah.
So one thing to share too, as I'm looking at my screen, bear with me again, Pat, because you're not on the phone with us or on video with us, but we do look like we have 2 programs for U.S. Lacrosse. There's the Tri-Lax clinics that will bring lacrosse into the area for, it looks like a grant for 6 to 14-year-old kids, and it gives them a 90-minute introductory lacrosse experience. And then there is also the First Stick programs. In First Stick, there's 2 different ones. There's the starter kit, which is 30 sticks, a couple dozen practice balls, and a couple mini goals. And then there's also the youth or high school team grant, provides enough equipment for 20 field players and 1 goalie. Organizations that receive a team grant are required to be participants in the U.S. Lacrosse 100% membership program. They will receive complimentary U.S. Lacrosse membership for up to 2 adults, coaches, and 20 new youth or high school players. Priority is given to 14 and under programs and organizations looking to balance participation equally between boys and girls. So it is out there. If anyone is interested, it's uslacrosse.org/programs, and then first-stick-program. So yeah, great that it's not only out there and it's available, but it looks like the applications are all online. And even there's testimonials. Actually, I'll push you to do that. If you want to write a testimonial, I can get it over to Bryce and they can get it on the national website, I'm sure. And also, if anyone has any questions, it looks like this would go through our regional office, which would be Bryce Woodson. So yeah, find my regional manager and that would be Bryce. We need to get Bryce on here for one of these episodes too.
I'll tell you, man, this is what's really cool for me in this thing is I'm one of those people that has always said, I'm a U.S. Lacrosse member. Where does it go? I don't ever see anything. I've been one of those complainers. I'm going to be completely honest. And just this conversation alone, I feel bad the 2 or 3 years I let it lapse, because this is totally worth it. It's totally worth my, whatever. It's not even that much, like $100 or whatever it is. And I'm happy to give it, and I will give it from now on, just from this phone call. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know in the last few years we've been able to give through First Stick programs and even a lot of this is done through national, but some of this is still done at the local level. We do our own fundraising. We do our own events for U.S. Lacrosse Michigan, and we've been able to give grants out. So I know that they gave. I think we bought some goalie equipment and some nets and some goals for Cass Tech when they were starting their program. I know there's a lot that's done with the 8 Mile Lacrosse Association, the Detroit PAL, and some of that stuff. One of our board members, Christiane Sims, is very involved and influential in a lot of that. So, and I know Jamal Robertson, also on the board, has been pretty involved in anything that's whether it's First Stick, diversity, inclusion, youth programs, there's a lot of that. So, yeah, Pat, knowing how much success you've had and if we can continue to support you, we definitely want to use this as a testimonial that maybe we can find somebody else that's been saying for a while. We're going to have Liberty Provost, who's the head coach of the Traverse City United Club, on in a couple of weeks. And I know that they're always talking about what's next up there, whether it's Petoskey or whether it's Boyne, or actually I think Boyne might be a part of that United program somewhere else. But, again, that's why we're doing this. Yeah, John and I know Oakland County very well. Kolon recruits the entire state. Hell, Kolon recruits the entire country. But the whole fun thing with doing these is, like I said, until you pinged us on Twitter or Facebook, whatever it was, and said, hey, I founded the St. John's Ovid-Elsie program, and I went, Ovid-Elsie has lacrosse. I didn't know that. Okay. So this has been fun. How about for us? Any questions for us as far as U.S. lacrosse or coaching or stories or anything that you want out of us, Pat?
I'm kind of upset with myself because I got all these great resources at my fingertips right now, and I just can't think of anything. But I know how to contact you.
Oh yeah, reach out to us. I mean, you know, and
I guess the one thing is Lansing has a couple of schools that don't have lacrosse, and which is kind of a shame because they're surrounded by lacrosse. And I'd love to help somebody get something started in one of those in one of the Lansing school district high schools. If anybody's interested there, they got a lot of great athletes that, that could just benefit lacrosse in general.
And what would you see, Pat? I mean, so you know, would you see starting that program as a standalone, or are you trying to maybe create sort of a Lansing, that area, you know, united type program, or you know, what would you see with that?
Yeah, well, my guess would be that it, just like most other school districts, they wouldn't have the resources to support starting a school-funded varsity team, so it'd have to be a club level. So I'd love to see them start at the middle school or youth level, so then they'd have some seasoned players once they finally are able to become a varsity level squad there. I think that'd probably be the smartest way for them to go.
Yeah, I don't know what programs in Lansing have it. I know Waverly has it. I believe, isn't Kimball coaching at Lansing Catholic Central? And like you said, I know everybody around there.
Lansing Catholic.
Holt, Nokomis.
Yeah, it's all the suburbs of Lansing that have it, but not Lansing.
East Lansing's got it.
East Lansing, right?
Yeah, East Lansing, Nokomis, and Hazlitt Williamson's right around there too. So, yeah, I mean, really, so like. What schools would we be talking about, Pat?
Well, I know 2 high schools combined there a couple years ago. So, but I remember the Quakers and the Big Reds. There was Sexton, and I thought there were 2 more, but 2 of them combined, and I can't think of the
Lansing Everett, maybe.
Eastern.
What is it?
Everett.
Eastern. I think Eastern's the other one.
Sexton and Waverly.
What's that?
So there's
most of the.
I think there's.
I got it right here.
There was one that was behind Sparrow Hospital. I don't know if you guys know Lansing very well, but I think that's the one that closed down and combined with somebody else. Another Lansing high school. So I think it's the Quakers and the Big Reds, and whatever high schools those mascots are associated with that are still around.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of digging, and you know, again, if anybody watches this thing and says, "Yeah, I'm a student at Lansing X, or my kids go to this school, and we'd love to have it," we don't have all the answers, but we know a hell of a lot of people. So we'll reach out to us, and we'll see what we can, do to help connect people. So is it Lansing Public Schools, Lansing Community Schools, Lansing Public School District? I'll look them up real quick. Locy, did you find anything yet?
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at the teams that have the schools that have programs, so. We'll figure it out. I don't think we need to waste the last 9 minutes doing web searches on East Lansing schools or Lansing schools.
Yeah, we're not very entertaining when we're just doing web searches. Colin's just sitting there going, "What are you 2 doing?"
I'm trying to figure out Drouin's hat.
This?
Yeah.
So
Catholic Central hat?
I thought it was a shamrock.
This was my grandfather's hat. He was a member of the Blue Devils, which was his army unit in World War II. And he used to every 10 years when I was a kid go to these unit reunions. And one year he came back with this Blue Devils hat, and it was I'm blanking on the infantry. It was 316th Infantry, I think. I should know this because he told me so many times. I'm going to research. I'll get back to you. But this, before he passed away, was one of the hats that he always wore. And when he passed away, as we were cleaning out his house, I got some of his tools and I got his Blue Devils hat. So I still wear this one around the house sometimes. So yeah, it's like old 80s.
Yeah, I was thinking hat. Lawrence Tech or Catholic Central.
No Catholic Central, no Lawrence Tech,
Nope.
Even though Wilson and McMichael will tease me and tell me that I'm a CC fan. So
I like your shirt too. I like your shirt too.
Yeah, if you can't, Pat, you can't see it, but I'm wearing the John Locy, the official voice of Detroit Mercy lacrosse shirt. So, Locy says we're not big time.
Okay.
Well, does anyone else have their face on a shirt? I think that makes you big time.
Sure.
And I think Kolon is that the T-shirt version of the shirt Garth Brooks just wore in front of 3.2 million people?
When they
Pat,
got him in trouble?
I think so, yeah.
Garth Brooks got a shirt from Chris and his team when they were in town in Detroit a couple weeks ago for a concert at Little Caesars Arena, and he wore it on Facebook Live and crashed Facebook Live last week wearing a Detroit Mercy lacrosse shirt. We're not sure if it was the concert with his
nice.
or the T-shirt, which drew all the attention and crowds to the internet, but it was pretty big time. So
yeah.
We've got a couple minutes left. I guess what I'll do is I'll kind of go through some of the other questions we always, kind of asked everyone else. Is there a favorite memory you have in lacrosse, Pat? A big win, a big moment? Anything that you really was like, damn, I love this sport and this is why?
Yeah, it was our first win ever as on the boys team, and we actually beat Bay City Central. They had beaten us earlier in the year, and which was nice for them because it was their first win for a while. But then I promised to get. I saw this one video. I think it was on. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Facebook, but one of the coaches for San Jose State, was it Trojans or Spartans? Anyway, their football team used to be a dancer for MC Hammer, and he was showing them how to do the dance. And I promised the guys when we got our first win, I'd do that.
Hammer time.
Yeah, so
Hammer time.
Hammer time. So I had to do that at the banquet. Yeah.
Is there a video of that or what?
Twitter that has a copy of that.
Yeah, a couple of guys got it on video. I haven't had the guts to watch it myself, but a couple of guys on my team got it on video. Yeah.
Any of his players that have his video, get it to us. We will tweet it out from the U.S. Lacrosse account.
No doubt.
All right. Well, I don't know that the guy who used to be an MC Hammer dancer might call me for a clinic or something. I don't know. I don't want to make him feel bad.
We all have our talents. As far as we're wrapping this up, I did. This might be a hornet's nest to kick right before we go into it. Playoffs, having a new program like Ovid-Elsie going in automatically up against, we're going to assume, a program that has been a little bit more established and everything. Are you a fan of having a third division or a developmental division or being able to opt out of playoffs? Does the current playoff model work for you? What's kind of your take on it?
Well, it's probably going to get me in trouble, but no, I am not a fan of the current playoff format at all. And I've voiced that to my two ADs and I've sent a couple emails to MHSAA too. No, I am not a fan at all. I don't think the top tier programs that we're forced to play are fans of it either, because what if their kids get hurt playing a meaningless game, no, I am not a fan. What I think ideally we'd run it kind of like the English Premier does, where they have like 3 or 4 divisions. If you win your division, then you move up. If you're last in your division, you move down, and you have a championship for each one of those divisions. If we can't do something like that, then I think it would be more like football, because not everybody in football gets into the playoffs. Because honestly, I'd rather not go to the playoffs and just play other teams at our level for fun, where both teams have a chance of winning, or it's not 30-0 in the first half.
Yeah.
We love that you said that.
For the country day that had to play, that Cass Tech had to play last year, that was ridiculous. I think it's a travesty. But yeah, we need to change the format.
So, one thing that I always say as a disclaimer, and actually I've been advised by some of our U.S. Lacrosse folks to remind people that this is editorial content only. This is the opinion of me, Chris Drouin, Chris Kolon, John Locy. This is not the opinion of U.S. Lacrosse. This is not the official policy of U.S. Lacrosse Michigan. This is just 3 guys talking lacrosse underneath that banner. But, you know, we are not the MHSAA. We are not decision makers in this. But we did come up in an era where we used to have the Michigan High School Scholastic Lacrosse Association, and we used to have a Division I, a Division II, and then a developmental division championship, where teams like Tecumseh actually have a state championship from that area, where teams that were in their first couple of years were able to opt into a different division. Now, I know with the MHSAA, they have the challenge of they have so many sports and athletic directors and legal and everything to deal with, so this might not be what they're looking for. But one thing that I had suggested as just kind of if I ran the zoo, if this was a Dr. Seuss book, you know, all these kids that get to go and do all these tournaments, whether it's Lax Bash or Boo Bash or Lax Jam at Cranbrook or you know, all the Waverly tournament. There's all these great tournaments where our buddy Sean Higgins puts up a tent and he sells 1 million T-shirts that weekend, and every kid says, "Hey, Dad, can I get a new stick? And I need a new pair of shorts. I need this and that." And they sell elephant ears, and they sell coney dogs, and they sell slushies, and those kids get a new pair of shorts, and they get to have fun in a festival-style event. Well, that exists for the youth players. It exists for the high school kids in the summer travel tournaments. But would something like that be something where if we said to the Ovid-Elsie St. John's coach, hey, if you opt out of the playoffs, we're going to put on a 2-day tournament where you're guaranteed 3 running clock games on Saturday. We seed it after that, and Sunday we come back and have a format for, you know, playoffs, and we'll name a champion that way. Would that be something you think your program would be interested in?
I would definitely be interested in something like that. I think you'd run into some resistance from the athletic directors in general, because they really don't like it. And my ADs aren't unique in this, because I've talked to other teams at our level who've also asked to opt out, because that is one of the options. But that's a big cultural no-no in the athletic director community.
Yeah.
So that'd be definitely something I'd be interested in, and I know other teams like Bay City Central and Brandon and West Bloomfield. I'm positive they'd be interested in that.
Yeah. I mean, again, if I ran the zoo, that's kind of my pipe dream, because I think it would be a great experience for those kids. Again, if your last experience in high school lacrosse is playing 5 games in 2 days with your buddies, and you might not win your last game and go out a champion, but at least you didn't get drubbed 42-0 by Brother Rice or somebody like that, and you know, you leave the game with a bad taste in your mouth. And again, these are just a couple ideas we're spitballing. We're not trying to tell anybody what's right or wrong. We're just trying to kick out some ideas and have some fun with some stuff. And I don't think you got yourself in trouble saying that. You're absolutely allowed to have an opinion. If you're not happy with something, say so.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you know, I think the MHSAA is, you know, lacrosse is gaining its popularity. There's more talk of it. People are more engaged, and I think something is going to happen at some point in time. I mean, it's going to happen that way, whether it's this year or next year, but it's going to happen soon enough, because there's just such a huge disparity. You know, you going up against Forest Hills Eastern last year in the first round. I think that was your game you played last year. I mean, you know, those guys made it to the state finals, right? And they had a great team coming back this year as well. And they've got that class, that junior class right now that's extremely talented. And that's, I mean, you know, they're probably the second or third best team in Division II, and it's just a lose deal for them and you. Yeah,
and then plus, you know, the parents have the lower rated team has to go to their field,
right? So
not only are we guaranteed 30? I think that coach is great. I mean, he agreed to stop at 18.
Yeah, Zach's a good guy. Zach's a good guy.
But you know, we still had to travel an hour and 15 minutes to go there. So these parents are everybody on the team knows, because they look at the power rating on MHSAA too. They know the schedule, and they knew what was going to happen. So I had to really struggle to get enough kids to actually show up to play. So
Well, it's gas too. I mean, you got parents spending money to drive there. You got to spend gas money.
Parents don't want to.
Food on the way back too. And so when you talk about it economically in your area, it kind of speaks to that, where it really doesn't make sense for you guys to do that or for the parents to do it. So I totally get it. And just as we wrap up, I mean, it's been great talking to you. I've really enjoyed meeting you and talking to you and learning about your area. And really, because my whole thing, and I think all of us here, I'm not speaking for Chris and Chris, but we want to grow the game, right? And we do look at it from a blessed area from the standpoint of lacrosse, and it's great to hear that. So when things pop up, on the that come to us about sticks or equipment or whatever it is, I mean, my first thought right now is going to be you guys.
Yeah, I'd love to help anybody that wants to start a new program. I'd love to be involved in that. Yeah.
So I always joke on this call when we have a guest, what does U.S. Lacrosse or U.S. Lacrosse Michigan need to do more of, and which committee would you like to join to be a part of that? I think we know where your role is going to be going forward, Pat. We'll keep you on the line. We'll get an email out to you in the future. As we kind of wrap it up, I just wanted to share my screen one more time for anyone that's watching us on YouTube. Remind them, uslacrosse.org. Go there, join, become a member, find out about first stick programs, coach education programs. There is a whole library of resources, whether you're an official, a player, a parent, a coach. It's all there. Go check it out. Also, we will get an email out soon with all of our addresses and subscriptions for the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, everybody else. Check us out on Twitter at USL_lacrosse is our official one. I'm at Chris Drouin. John's at Locy. Coach Kolon is at Chris Kolon, Kolon. And then as I'm leaving, I just wanted to share the picture of Garth Brooks rocking his Detroit Mercy shirt one more time. Colin's got 46 on. He's got 43 on. Locy, I'm not sure where your and my shirts got lost in the mail, but we'll definitely have to follow up with the coach to figure out where those are. And without anything else, John, anything else to add this week? Chris, anything this week?
No, we got a busy week.
We got a couple more of these this week, so let's and hey, thanks for doing everything that you do, man. It's really awesome. You guys, I couldn't be doing what I do unless there were guys like you doing what you do. So thanks so much.
I agree. Yeah, 100%,
Thank you.
because it's easier to do in this area where lacrosse is appreciated. It's harder to do in areas where it really isn't or isn't known as well, or there's the financial resources to do it. So kudos to you, buddy, and keep doing it.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that, you guys. Had a good time tonight. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. And just so everyone that's watching, if they're interested, tomorrow we're going to have Gordon Corsetti from U.S. Lacrosse. He does a lot with mental health. We just thought we want to keep this a Michigan podcast, but we're letting Gordon on because he specializes in mental health. And I just think a lot of the kids that are going through this might need an attaboy, a pick-me-up. I'm not saying that we're here to solve lives or solve the world's problem, but I think he definitely.
It's not. Hold on. It's not an intervention with Kolon, is it? I mean, right? We're not having him on to talk to Chris, or no?
Liz told me not to mention that on the air.
I understand.
But that being said, we're going to have Gordon tomorrow, and fingers crossed. Should we tease whose Tuesday is if we get the athletic director sign off?
No, let's keep it. Let's keep it.
All right. Tuesday's guest we're going to keep under wraps. But we also this week are talking to Rockford women's head coach, 7-time state champion Mike Emery, and we're talking to former Detroit Turbo captain and U of D Jesuit High head coach Ron Martinello. So we got a busy week, and we're really excited about it. So, Pat, on behalf of John and behalf of Chris and U.S. Lacrosse Michigan, thank you so much for all that you do, and thanks for being a guest on the podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right, boys. Have a good night. I'm going to go play with the kids. See ya.
You too.
See ya.
All right. Bye.